What's up, heathens? How y'all doing? I'm the Godless Engineer, and I am here with Calvin from Unquestionable. Calvin, I don't know if y'all know, but he's over there on TikTok, Instagram, just everywhere across the internet, and he's a really awesome guy. We're going to be getting into him real quick. His background, he's got a really interesting background, where he comes from and everything like that, as far as, like, I guess, belief-wise. And but I do want to implore you to call in. The number is 720-619-2288. You can call in, ask us questions. We'd really love to answer those questions for you. If you know anybody out there that is usually talking a lot of shit, like about atheists or about how they believe in God, those kind of people, definitely send them our way. Or if you're part of the audience and you believe that Jesus existed as a historical person, we're both mythicists. So call in and we can have a really good discussion on why Jesus probably didn't exist. And so to get into it tonight, I'd really like to just hear from you there, Calvin. Why don't you tell everybody kind of like who you are and like your interesting background? Because I think that's one of the most interesting things about you.
Wow, that was quite an intro. It's almost as if you like do this kind of a lot, almost maybe a little bit. But yeah, man, that was an awesome intro. Thanks, John. I appreciate it. Yeah, I mean, I'm Unquestionable Calvin. I come from a more kind of conspiratorial background, not super heavily religious. So I like to call it a lot of finger waving, like, hey, Jesus is watching, type of thing. So watch what you're doing, but not a whole lot of enforcement. We go to church pretty regularly until, I don't know, I was a little younger, probably 6-7 years old, stopped going to church regularly. And religion just kind of sat on the back burner, again, finger waving. And conspiracy theories more so started to sprout, thanks to my two older sisters just feeding me conspiracy theories of stuff that they've seen on like Discovery Channel and Animal Planet, shit like that. So we would, I used to be a heavy believer in like Bigfoot being an interdimensional time traveler. I used to think that like Hillary Clinton was a reptilian alien from the Draco constellation, and that the Earth was probably hollow, and that Atlantis existed, and that there was an ancient lost civilization making ancient lost high technology, and Graham Hancock was my hero. The list goes on. And I eventually started to kind of question my religious beliefs. Decided I'd pick up a Bible because that's what everyone was saying. If you think that you're Christian, probably should see what Christianity is saying and, the instruction manual. So I picked up a Bible, read it from cover to cover, did not like what it said, was not a fan. And, but I still wasn't comfortable calling myself an atheist, that I didn't believe that this God existed. So I read it again, a second time, different translation, and I annotated it the whole time. And that's what this Bible sitting next to me is. It's my annotations through it, annotating all the atrocities that I found in it. And I mean, you can see I found a couple in there. And by the New Testament, I consider myself an atheist, needless to say. And then I still believed in conspiracy theories and stuff. So there's still, like I was telling John earlier, there was a lot of videos floating around the internet where you can find people debunking my conspiracy theories, I'm sure. And it was kind of the Bible that was like that first domino falling that got me to start questioning really heavily in these conspiracy theories that I also was believing in. Because at this point, I wanted to believe in what was true, regardless of what it was making me feel. And it all just kind of went kind of downhill from there for Graham Hancock and, other conspiracy theories that I held on to very dearly. And so now I consider myself an atheist and ex-conspiracy theorist because I don't believe in like any of that anymore. So that's kind of me.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the things that you do that you post like video of sometimes is actually your street epistemology, where you go out, you have big sign, you allow people to ask you questions, which I have to say is very ironic naming that you have for your brand there, Unquestionable Calvin, but you're like, come on, give me questions.
Exactly. Because I mean, kind of the moniker, it's people always ask, like, what the heck is the unquestionable thing? And I used to do a podcast called Unquestionable with Calvin Smith. I started it when I was a conspiracy theorist, and that's what the show was about spreading my conspiracy theories. And if you listen to my show, which is still available out there, I don't make any episodes for it anymore. I stopped about 2.5 years ago, almost 3 years ago. You can literally listen to my deconstruction through episode 1 all the way through the like 40, 50 episodes I made. I mean, it's straight up my deconstruction. You can just listen to it episode by episode. My questions get deeper and different. And my just you could see there's an obvious difference as the show goes on. By the time the show ended, I didn't believe in anything that I was talking to any of those people about. It was really interesting. So that's where my moniker comes from, Unquestionable Calvin, because it was the Unquestionable podcast with Calvin Smith. So people just started calling me Unquestionable Calvin just out of nowhere. And so I just kind of like, all right, I guess that's how people know me.
Yeah. And so I have to ask before we get, because we do have one call in queue here that I really want to get to, but I'm wondering, can you kind of tell us, like, maybe what's the craziest conspiracy theory that you believed in and now you don't?
Oh, I love to. Okay, I don't love to go to it because it is embarrassing. I truly believed with my whole heart that Hurricane Katrina was a false flag operation that was started by the Draco constellation aliens that were running the government. And the reason why they started the Hurricane Katrina was to basically hoard all of the homeless population, the people who cannot find shelter, name them dead that they died in the storm, and they would abduct them and experiment with them, kill them, take them to a different planet, whatever it might be. So yeah, essentially, I truly believe that Hurricane Katrina wasn't like a real storm. I thought that it was like a created storm by aliens that were running the government.
Yeah. Wow. So what convinced you away from that? I'm just kind of wondering, like, I mean, that's pretty in there deep. So like what drove you away from that?
I realized that there was literally zero evidence for that. Like literally zero. Like we have plenty of evidence that Hurricane Katrina was a real storm, right? And we know how storms form. We know that's totally a real thing that can happen. Right? It's not unusual that a really bad hurricane can happen in that, part of New Orleans. Not anything crazy, right? So just more so like Occam's razor, kind of, what's more reasonable here? What's the more likely result here? It was just kind of like literally 3 or 4 people that I found on the internet, just on like Reddit and other podcasts, just spewing random bullshit that I just for some reason found convincing. So it really didn't take long for me to kind of dig myself out of that, but it did take a little bit too long.
Yeah. Well, actually, KC in the chat put, for every $25 you send in super chats, Calvin is going to tell you another conspiracy theory. Would you be up for like doing that? Like, do you have like an encyclopedia of like conspiracy theories?
Oh man. Oh, I gotta stretch. I can go for days, dude.
Okay, sounds like a good one. So for every $25 that are sent in, we will tell a conspiracy theory, and it'll have to happen between calls and everything like that. But I'm interested to hear these, and I have to implore you: do not make any of these super chats about Guy Fieri, because that really gets on me. And I if people need me to remind them, I will, but it'll take like $50 or something. But oh, it doesn't. Yeah, it's not like sorry, it's not a single $25. We are going to be addressing super chats, $5 or more. So anybody that sends in $5 more will address, but cumulatively, every $25 of super chats, we will tell another conspiracy theory, or well, Calvin will. I'm going to exploit him on this. But anyways, so we do have a caller that is specifically wanting to talk to you, Calvin. So I'll probably let you interact with him mostly. But we've got. Are you ready to take our first call?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. So we're gonna take a call from Chris, who is from Puerto Rico. Hey there, Chris. How you doing?
What's up, Chris?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Good. All right. So what do you want to talk about?
Well, really, I'm only here to speak of 3 points, then I leave because I don't have nothing more to say, and mainly I want to speak with Calvin, and he's the guy. I prepared these points, but you can say whatever you want.
Hang on. Before you get started, do you actually want to have a conversation, or do you just want to go off your script and leave? Because I mean, I'm more interested in having a conversation.
No, I do want a conversation, but I prepared three topics.
Okay, shoot.
That's it. Okay, so the first point was that I remember in your videos, one of your videos was about the Bible classifying bats as birds and whales as fish.
I'm sorry, you kind of broke up there. I didn't catch that last bit. Something about the Bible, what?
Yeah, the Bible classifying bats as birds and whales as fish.
Oh, okay.
Right, bats
Yeah,
is
okay.
birds and whales is fish. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay.
You made a video about that, and I wanted to
I did.
reply to that. And well, for me, it's quite simple. In that is that in the Old Testament, the word translated as bird just means flying thing. The one translated as fish is swimming thing, or what? Swimming creatures. So that's it. That's why it says that.
Okay. Can I
It has
respond to
nothing to
that?
do with moral.
Yeah, so I guess my response
Uh,
to that would be I guess my first question would be, do you think that the Bible is the inspired word of God?
I do hold to that, but I have more nuanced view on that than most people you talk to at least. So I don't.
Okay.
Well, just say what you want to say.
Okay. Yeah. So you believe that the Bible's the inspired word of God. So wouldn't you think that it would like kind of you know, tie a lot of loose ends here if God just, maybe put in the Bible like, hey, flying creatures, are flying creatures, birds are birds. I feel like if he made like a differentiation in there, like saying, hey, and I don't know, if God is all powerful, right? He could make a translation of the Bible that doesn't require you to have to infer and investigate the previous contexts of it, right? If it's going to say birds are bats are birds, then it should probably say bats aren't birds, right? Bats are actually mammals. Why wouldn't God teach these people
Well,
back in these times that bats are mammals rather than continuing to teach these people that they're birds?
well, yeah. What happens is that how to explain this? But basically, the word used there it means simply flying creatures, swimming creatures, and the word for mammal, technically, or beast, better say, is walking creatures. So there really is not, hey, bats are mammals because that word did not exist in ancient Hebrew.
Okay, but the thing is that God could have just said, "Hey, by the way, bats aren't birds; bats are mammals." Why didn't God just say
Yeah,
that?
but the word bird there just means flying creature. It's just in English translations and modern ones that say bird. If you translate it literally, it will just say flying creature.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so Chris,
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't you think God, in His infinite wisdom, would have been able to communicate to the Israelite people in a way that would make the distinction between bats and birds?
I don't think he intended that.
So he intended to confuse people.
No, it's not a confusion because it will be
Obviously,
only
it
a
is.
confusion if you think that. No, because it is only a confusion if you assume, okay, for the people God wrote this to, which will be the ancient Israelites at some point, um, they just classify things that way: flying creatures, swimming creatures, and walking creatures. Now, if today we now use another classification and have given the word bird to a certain type of group that has nothing to do with what the Bible says, because they are just two completely unrelated things. It's just a coincidence that we decided that this set of creatures, what we call it bird, and then we decided to translate the word from Hebrew that just means flying creature as bird, and so it really has nothing to do with bird per se.
Well, no. So, Chris, I think that you're missing the point
Yes.
here. It's that God chose to communicate in an inaccurate way. I mean, it's just inaccurate to say that bats are birds or even closely related. I mean, I'm not exactly sure how closely related. I mean, I can look it up. I mean, all life on Earth is related to one another. But as far as like
They
classification
diverged.
go, like in clades,
Yeah,
hold
bats,
on. Let me finish.
birds
Hold
divergent.
on. Let me finish. Let me finish. Like
Okay, okay.
all life is related to one another, but like as far as bats being so close to birds that you would classify them as that. I feel like is the problem that we have, and our expectation of God is to not lie to people, because God is supposed to be omnibenevolent, right? You believe in the tri-omni God, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Okay. So if God truly is good and he's all knowing, then he chose to lie to people about the relationship between birds and bats.
No, the thing is that to the people he was writing to, he just simply told them that bats and the other birds are flying creatures, whales are swimming creatures, and that the classification of
Okay.
bird and mammal is just a post-biblical classification. So it has
Okay,
nothing to do with the
Chris,
Bible.
let's go this route. Let's go this route, Chris. Okay, so
Okay.
kind of diverging away from the birds are bats thing or whatever. Do you think that rabbits chew cud?
Rabbits, bats?
Do you think that rabbits chew cud? Do you know what cud is?
I don't know. I am not a native English speaker.
Okay, well, let's kind of go through this a little bit. Okay, so the Bible says that rabbits chew cud, right? I've worked with rabbits for a very, very long time, right? I've never in my life seen a rabbit that chews cud, right? And that's because rabbits are non-ruminants. Ruminants are animals that have multiple digestive tracts, and they intake plant matter, and they partially digest it, and they regurgitate it, chew it, and then digest it, partially digest it, and they do that over and over, and that's called cud that they regurgitate.
Yes, because
Rabbits,
they have.
hang on. Rabbits don't have multiple stomachs. They don't have the ability to regurgitate. There's not a single, I think there might, to be honest, there might be maybe one species of rabbit out there that can regurgitate, kind of, but not in the manner that you might think. So yeah, the fact that the Bible, continues to say rabbits chew cud, the bats are birds, whales are fish. It's just all wrong information, when instead of saying rabbits chew cud, God could have said, hey, rabbits can't chew cud because they're non-ruminants. They don't have the digestive tract to do that. So why is God blatantly lying to us?
I really don't exactly know what birds would that be. I will have to investigate that, but thanks to your point, I will investigate that at some point.
Okay, well,
Okay.
since we're talking about animals here, let me ask you, Chris, do you think that God created like all life on Earth? Like, are you a young Earth creationist?
No.
No. Do you think evolution is a real thing?
Yes. Well, it depends what you mean exactly by evolution, but yes.
Okay. No, that's really good. I'm really glad that you're not part of that particular kind of conspiracy theory. But so why are you still convinced? Let me ask you this, since we're kind of done with the bat thing. Why are you still convinced that your God exists, or why? A better question, sorry, is why do you still believe in God?
Why do I believe in God? Well, I think there are quite a few good arguments for God.
Okay, can you
But
give us maybe what you think is the best argument?
the best argument, it might be the argument from contingency, how contingent objects existing necessitate a necessary thing that sustains. But really, I really did not came to speak about that because I am not prepared to that conversation. It's like asking me. It's like if a younger creationist asked me to prove evolution. Even though I believe in it, I really can't explain it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you obviously have tiered the arguments. At least you have an idea of what arguments are stronger than others. So I guess I don't understand why the contingency argument to you is stronger, because I feel like you would ultimately have to make a special pleading argument there that God is special in this case, and that he is not contingent. And so I'm wondering, can you go ahead?
Yeah, well, if I may check that special pleading. Well, what happens is that special pleading only applies when you exclude an object from a category without any given reason. But the definition of necessary is that it is not contingent in anything. So it will not be special pleading. It will be like, let me give you this analogy. It will be like if I said, this, how is called the thing that a train pulls? Sorry, I don't know that much English.
You're doing fine. Sorry, was that the entire
that thing
analogy?
A train pulls. Yeah. What's called that thing that the train pulls? Like there is the train here moving, and then there is the thing behind it that is being pulled by it.
Oh, a caboose?
That's our. I guess
Yeah.
so. Okay, we have the caboose, and then okay, so somebody asked, why is the caboose moving? Well, it's tied to the one in front of it. And why is that moving? Well, it's tied to the one in front. And so on, and then we reach the train. And then, what is pulling the train? Well, the train is of a different kind than the caboose, so it does not need nothing other than itself to pull.
Well, that's not exactly true. The train has different operations that actually cause it to pull. So like it's got a layer of physics underneath it that, you know, either if you're talking about a steam engine, that's one particular kind of locomotion, I guess. And then of course you've got trains that operate differently now. But so, I mean, there are underlying physics that cause the train to move forward. I understand that you're trying to suggest a prime mover argument, but that doesn't really seem all that convincing to me because objects at rest are just as natural as objects in motion. And this is something that we've come to realize in physics. And the prime mover argument was postulated by Thomas Aquinas back in the medieval times. Medieval ages.
It was postulated by Avicenna before him.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
Technically that argument was it was stipulated by Aristotle before him.
Okay.
Just saying, not to be pedantic.
Okay.
So,
Okay. The thing with like the whole. Okay, let me kind of jump in here. The thing with the whole contingency argument, Chris, is that it's one thing to hold that position of the contingency argument, right? But then you take one step further and you put a name to the argument. You say that it is not only a God, but it is the Christian God, right? That it is the God of Christianity.
No, I don't.
And my main thing is that I think you need to hang on. I'm still talking. I think you need to prove that God exists to begin with before you can say that he went and did X, Y, Z, right? Like I don't. You're giving us the explanation before you're giving us, the conclusion that you're reaching.
Okay, so I will not say that the contingency argument proves Christianity. I will say that it just proves classical theism in general, so it could be used by a Christian, by a Muslim, by a Jew, by some type of Hinduism, and that. And then non-religious theism, I guess.
And how did you get to Christianity being the answer, though? I mean, why didn't you go for Islam or Hinduism or the Book of Mormon or any other religious ideology that has a contingency argument behind it? Why did you choose Christianity?
Oh, well, that's actually pretty easy. For Mormons at least, because Mormons don't believe in a necessary being. They believe in an infinite change of God creating one another.
An infinite chain of what? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Let me explain to you. Let me explain. I have been into the lore. So basically, they think that God the Father, the Father of Jesus, all of that, he himself used to be a human who had a God, and that God used to be a human who had a God, and that God had blah 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 ad infinitum. I know that it sounds crazy, but to my knowledge, that's what they believe.
So that sounded to me like you're just telling us what you believe and not why you believe it.
No. That's what Mormons believe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I was explaining why the contingency argument. Yes, I was explaining why the contingency arguments don't work for them, because they don't believe in one single necessary thing. They believe in infinite contingent beings, which I think is nonsense, but that's what they think.
Chris, we're not talking about Mormons because you're not Mormon, right?
Yes. wanted to bring up because you asked, why don't you go with these authors? Well, I had this response to when you say Book of Mormon. Well, I came up with this, but I not came up with it now. Just I knew already about this.
Okay. What Calvin asked you though, and it was the same thing I was going to ask you. What convinces you of the Christian God? Like what drives you towards believing in Yahweh, Jesus, all that kind of stuff? Like what
In
convinces you of
particular,
that?
well, a few things like the resurrection. I think there is enough evidence to believe in it. Well, I know that you will disbelieve it, and I am further than many others because you're a mythicist, are not you?
Yeah, I mean, neither of us believe the resurrection happened. So yeah, I mean, that we wouldn't agree with that, but that's because there's no evidence for it other than the claim that he did resurrect. But I mean, can you think of like a non-magical mechanism by which Jesus could resurrect?
A non-magical mechanism by which Jesus could resurrect? Not that I know. That's why I believe that it is supernatural.
Right. So the resurrection is a magical belief, right?
If by magical you mean supernatural, then I guess so.
Well, by magical, what I mean is that it violates the normal operating procedures, I guess, of reality. It breaks the laws of nature, and it is super rare, obviously, because it's only happened supposedly once, and it's a suspension of the natural order of reality. So, I mean, that's how I would describe any kind of magic. Like if illusionists were to actually make a bust disappear, that would be a disruption of the natural order of reality, right?
It would.
Yeah. So the Jesus's resurrection, supposed resurrection, violates the natural order of reality, which thus makes it the exact same thing as magic. Do you believe in any other magical concepts?
Well, given that your definition of magic seems to just be the supernatural, well, the only supernatural thing is God.
Okay. How would you define like Jesus's resurrection and like the supernatural nature of that? Like would you have a different definition than I just gave?
Well, the supernatural for me is that which is above super the natural order, nature. So that's the supernatural. And in that case, it will be the only thing that is, properly speaking, according to my own Christian tradition, supernatural is God himself and whatever he does when he breaks the laws of nature.
No, see, I would disagree with your definition, your kind of definition that you gave of supernatural there. I come from the position, personally, I don't know about John, but I come from the position that the supernatural cannot exist. It can't. Just so supernatural and magic is one and the same to me. You can use the same word. It's a semantic game. It's both the same thing to me. Supernatural, if you're able to demonstrate it using naturalistic processes, then it is a natural thing. It's a natural phenomena. If you're not able to demonstrate that, but you believe it, that's when you say it's supernatural, right? So if you can demonstrate it, it's no longer supernatural. Like if you come to me with the supernatural claim that Jesus resurrected, and we're able to demonstrate with sufficient evidence and reasoning that that event actually happened, it is then a natural phenomena. So that's why I don't necessarily agree with your definition that you gave there of supernatural. It entails nothing about a god.
Well, if by natural you mean that which we can explain, then I guess so, but I don't know about that definition.
Okay. All right. Well, Chris, it was great. It was great talking to you. We do have another caller to get to.
I also have. I go to my other 2 points just quickly? Okay. So just to go to your
hang on, Chris. Hang on. I mean, we appreciate you. You know, I think that we spent a pretty good amount of time talking about just, you know, we started on one thing and then we went to another, then we went to another, and we went to another. So, I mean, although I know that you have, you know, multiple other claims that you want to talk about, you know, we do have other callers, you know, we do have, you know, other things to do outside of, you know, talking to people on the internet. So, we do have to, get a move on with the show for now. But I mean, if you ever wanted to, call back in and give the other points that you have, we can, talk about those next time.
Yeah, sure. The next time you are in Cal, I will come and we can speak. So, and by the way,
sure.
you know that I am the guy in Discord that just wrote to you, right? Who said that I will be here.
I didn't catch what you said there.
No, the guy in Discord you just spoke to a few 40 minutes ago when you posted that you will be here in the
okay, so
line.
you found it through my Discord.
Cool. Yes.
All right. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I always like to speak about this stuff. So, have a nice day, I guess.
All right, Chris.
Hey, bye.
We'll see you later. Okay.
Yeah. By the way, I will be also in the Atheist experience probably this Sunday to talk to Justin and Forrest if you want to see me.
Okay, bud. You have a nice night. I'm going to go ahead and drop you there, though. And, I hope you have a fun time over there on Sunday. But we did get the the first $25 thing. So I'm very interested to hear another fun conspiracy theory from Calvin here. What's another fun one?
Yeah, bet. Another one that I used to believe was that, okay, you have to forgive me, I can't remember the exact name of the I guess it's a cryptid, I guess you would say. I want to say it's like Mamumba something. Okay, so the story of it goes is that there is a Bronchiosaurus, a miniature, not a full-grown Bronchiosaurus, obviously, because we'd be able to see that, right? There's a miniature Bronchiosaurus that is walking around the Amazon right now, and the ancient or the lost tribes in the Amazon there, they actually legitimately do have like depictions, pictures, cave paintings, I guess you could say, of a thing that looks like it might have a long neck. I don't know, and that is a dinosaur. Apparently, there's a Bronchiosaurus currently in this very moment. Just one, maybe a small family, maybe that is currently walking around the Amazon, interacting with the lost tribes of the Amazon that are away from human contact. So, yeah, there's a dinosaur in the Amazon right now, apparently.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it. It's like it starts with an M. It's like Mamumba something, Mamunga. I don't know, something like that.
Mokele Mumbembe.
Yes, there we go. Mokele Mumbembe.
Yeah. That feels like something that like a young Earth creationist would bring out and be like, see, dinosaurs, they're not millions of years old. I do want to encourage everybody right now to call in if you believe in God, believe that Jesus is a historical person, anything along those lines. The number is 720-619-2288. We'd love to talk to you about it. As you can tell, we're very nice people to talk to. Don't be scared about it. Just call in 720-619-2288. We'd love to talk to you. Another thing is keep the super chats coming in because I want to hear more conspiracy theories. And I so appreciate everybody not making any of them about Guy Fieri because I totally hate him. And you will just have to worry about, in silence, like why I hate Guy Fieri. But anyways, are you ready for our next caller there, Calvin?
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
All right, our next caller is Joshua. How you doing there, Joshua?
What's up, Joshua?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for taking my call so quickly.
Yeah.
Hello?
No, thank you for calling in. Yep.
Okay. So yes, my quick question, and so I don't take too much of your time, it's just to get right to the point, is that, forgive me, I'm a little nervous, is that how would you base the best way to explain that to your nieces and my nieces and nephew, apologies, that I'm an atheist? Because most of my sisters are they're not religious per se, but they still go. But it's just like something I don't know how to explain to them without trying to influence them. So it's like I want them to discover who they are, but at the same time, if the awkward question comes up, because I won't know what to say, to be honest. If you catch what I mean. Apologies, I didn't word that better.
No, you're fine. Calvin, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the thing would be is that I don't really see a reason to really explain it to them, I guess, unless it comes up in like conversation. Like, we'll use like my nieces and nephews, for example, right? Like because I don't have any kids myself. So like I don't think that they know that like I don't believe in like a god or anything like that. It's never come up in conversation. Like I've never had to like sit down with them and be, hey, listen, guys, I don't believe in, a magic man in the sky, when they might not even have that concept of a magic man in the sky type of thing. I think that if it comes up in the moment, like if my nieces and nephews approached me and said, hey, do you believe in a god? I would just say, no, just leave it at that. If they ask more questions, try to cater those answers to however young this child is that you're talking to, and just be aware that whatever you say could influence this child. So kind of just watch what you're saying. But I don't really see a reason to like just approach people or even your nieces, nephews, your children, even say, hey, I don't believe in a god. I don't think that there's really a point or even really a benefit to it unless it comes up in conversation, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but I'm asking this question is because like last year when I was my nieces and nephew live in England and I live in Portugal. As I know, very big difference. But the way it happened was that one time we visited a church and she wanted to show it to me, and she asked me if I kind of believe in a god, and I didn't know what to say at that exact moment, and it was very awkward for me because like I said, but yeah, I just didn't know what to. I just didn't know what to say. I just said I don't believe in God and I don't like churches that much. I tried to be not as so forward of my disdain for them, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, so your niece, nephew, whoever it was, asked you if you believed in God, and you said no. And I mean, was that basically it? Was that the end of the conversation?
She did ask me a few questions why, and that kind of did put me in the awkward moment because this was me in this moment. Do I tell her why? Like, do I just become forthright, or do I just say it's my own personal reasons? It was sort of like I didn't know which one to choose at the time. I went for I have my own reasons why I don't believe in a God sort of situation. Yeah. So I didn't know if that was the right one or the wrong one.
I don't think that there really is a right or wrong answer. I think that like these types of things happen and it does catch you off guard. I don't think you really can expect it type of thing. I don't think there is a right or wrong answer. I think you saying that, your niece or nephew asking you, hey, do you believe in God? And you saying, no, I don't. I try to stay away from churches. I think that's a fine answer. I don't think that there's any reason to like add on to that unless they really ask or, I know like with nieces and nephews need to like watch out with like overstepping your boundaries and stuff like with teaching, these kids and such. So yeah, I mean, I think that it's a fine answer just to say, I just don't believe that, and just kind of leave it at that, to be honest, especially for like a child,
She's about 8 years old. She was 7 years old last year. And so it was just that awkward moment, right? The development part. So like I said, I was trying to be careful.
Yeah. I think there's a little bit of also, I'm catching like a little bit of like stigmatism. Like obviously there's a lot of stigmatism around being atheist. There's a big, like, but kids don't know about that stigmatism. I would assume a lot of kids probably don't know about that stigmatism that, not believing in a God is like a fringe thing, I guess you could say. A lot of kids aren't aware of it. Obviously your nieces or nephews aren't really aware of that it's like a stigmatized thing. So I don't think you should feel bad about just telling the kids who you are and how you are. I mean, if they love you, they'll continue to love you, whether you believe in an invisible magic man in the sky or not. Right?
True. That is true. And I do love them a lot. And they do love me. I am their fun
uncle. That's me too. I'm the funkle.
Yeah. But yes. Yeah, thank you for that. Thank you for that quick. Thank you so much for that quick explanation and quick answer. I appreciate it.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Joshua.
I hope you have a wonderful night, or is it daytime for you? Because I live in Europe.
It's still daytime, kind of here. Oh, John, I think you're muted.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh,
Sorry.
You're
yeah.
good, Josh.
It's about twilight for me. But yeah, I was just asking if there's anything else you needed to ask, but it seems like you're ready to get off the phone.
I wanted to ask one more unrelated question, but I feel like I don't know if I should save it for another time. Yeah, maybe I'll save it
we've
for
got
another time.
We're okay. If you want to save it, that's fine.
No.
We do have a little bit of time between in the next call. So if you wanted to ask, we could answer.
Okay, it's just a very quick question then. This one, so I don't have to get it off. I wanted to ask you what your perspective of things on how things in religions compared to, say, Europe and America is. Like, what do you think of how Europe, even though it was very Christian, is now less Christian compared to the States? How do you feel about that?
I'm incredibly sad to live in America right now. I feel like America is slowly being taken over by Christian nationalists, and I really do hope that doesn't happen to other countries. But I know that there are far right organizations and groups that are gaining traction over there, and I hate to think about how they're using the conservative groups over here as like sort of like a blueprint for taking over their respective countries. And I know I want to visit England one day, or the UK. Sorry, I want to visit the UK one day, which will probably happen eventually. But I have been to Lisbon. Yes, thank you, hun. Lisboa. Yes, thank you, hun. Yeah, we were on, yeah.
Sorry.
We were on a Mediterranean cruise kind of thing a while back, and we ended up in Lisbon. So it was really nice over there. And I hope, at least for me, I hope they don't turn into a more far right leaning country like here in America. But I'll let Calvin answer now.
Yeah, I would kind of piggyback off of that, to be honest. I totally agree with what John just said. I think that, the America that we have now is really changing and not really for the better. For me personally, I've never stepped foot out of the United States. I don't even have a passport. I live literally 20 minutes away from the Canada border, and I've never even been to Canada. Right. So I don't have very many opinions on the cultures and stuff of Europe, because I've literally never experienced anything other than mostly just Michigan type of culture, which is pretty conservative around here. So I mean, yeah, I think that if the direction that America continues to go on, if it continues, then we're in for a shit show. But I think that we definitely could learn some things from the what's going on in certain European countries.
Thank you so much for answering my questions, you two. I appreciate it. Have a nice day, and ciao from Portugal.
All right.
Thanks, Joshua.
We'll see you later, Joshua.
Ciao.
Bye. All right. So we did get another $25 in super chats. Calvin, let's dive into your conspiracy theory knowledge.
Yeah.
What's another one?
All right. So my favorite conspiracy theory that probably took me the longest to get rid of. It's the most recent of conspiracy theories that I've dropped. The belief in an ancient lost high technology developed by an ancient lost civilization that you could consider Atlantis, right? Okay. So I believe that Atlantis was actually, I don't know if you're familiar with Africa at all, right? But there is a place in Mauritania, Africa, that's called the Eye of Africa. Actually, if you look up Google Earth images of Africa, you can see Mauritania. It literally looks like a little eye. It's really cool. It's just like a landmass there. I believe that was the location of Atlantis. 12,800 years ago, there was an ancient cataclysm called the Younger Dryas Epoch, and that happened from 12,800 years ago to 11,600 years ago. This is a real thing that happened. Meltwater Pulse 1b happened upon it's more than likely a meteor hit like south of Greenland, melted the ice caps, causing Meltwater Pulse 1a and B actually flooded a large majority of the western side of Africa and the eastern side of the United States. And that's where you would get a lot of your flood myths, is around, kind of that time period, right? And I believe that Atlantis was actually a land civilization that lived in the middle of Africa, right there in Mauritania, tens of thousands of miles away from any type of sea. But the causing of Meltwater Pulse 1b melting caused the Younger Dryas Epoch, which essentially sunk Atlantis. And then that was kind of lost until Solon, about I think it was 9,000 years after that happened. Solon, who is the great grandfather of Plato, went to Egypt, talked to a couple of Egyptian scribes who talked about this Atlantis place, and he brought that back to Greece, where he was a lawmaker, and he passed that story down through the generations, where Plato picked it up and wrote Critias and Timaeus, and that's kind of where that whole conspiracy theory spews off.
Huh. Interesting.
I was super
I know
into
that there's I know that there's a lot of different ideas about where Atlantis could have been and everything like that. So it's interesting to hear that one. I guess I can understand why it might have been a little bit of appealing, just because of how much detail it has in it.
Yeah. And I wasn't even totally convinced that it was in Africa. I mean, there's like a Bimini Road in the Bahamas off of Andros Island that is supposedly Atlantis. And there is the Yonaguni Monument off the coast of, I think it's off the coast of Tokyo, if I'm not mistaken. And that's like a landmass that's, it's totally natural, to be honest. But I did a whole podcast thinking that it was like Atlantis and type of thing. So yeah, lots of people think that Atlantis is in a bunch of different places, but I tend to think that I used to think that it was in Africa.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's another conspiracy theory down. Keep those super chats coming in. We'd love to pry into more of Calvin's conspiracy theory knowledge. But be sure to call in also. Yeah. Be sure to call in 720-619-2288. We'd really love to hear from you. If you, or maybe you got a friend that's a theist that, has thought about calling in but hasn't pulled the trigger on that yet, definitely send them the number 720-619-2288, and we will be able to talk to them. So we do have another caller already lined up. So you ready to take that call there, Calvin?
Let's go.
All right. See if we can talk to Chris, different Chris from Naughty Dementia. Yeah, that sounds right. What's up there, Chris? How you doing?
What's up, I'm here. Chris? I'm a little shy. Sorry about that. But how are you guys?
Good.
Doing all right. So what you want to talk about?
My question. Oh, yeah. Okay. Go ahead. What I want to talk to you guys about? I guess my question is like, what would a universe look like if God did exist?
I couldn't tell you. It depends on what kind of God you're talking about, I guess. I mean, I guess it comes down to like your definitions of what God is, how powerful he is. Like, I mean, I'm not really interested in the imagination game, if I'm being honest.
Oh, it's not an imagination game. I guess what I'm trying to say is that, like, is there a difference between a universe without a God or with a God?
I don't think we know what one with one looks like.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
I think that's a good question. I'm an atheist, I guess I'm just getting down to brass tacks.
Right. I want to echo what Calvin was saying, though, is that we would first need a sort of definition of God to know what to expect out of a universe with a God. So, like, for instance, if you're claiming the Christian God, then there's a very specific, things that we should expect. Like, I don't think that we would be able to do science in the normal way that we do if that God were to exist, because he can randomly pop in and do things. And sure, Christians now say that, oh, God won't do this because there's a new covenant, but it's like, at every single point in time in the past, God has intervened in reality. And to some Christians, he still intervenes through miracles and stuff. So if miracles happen and they randomly happen at the whim of God, then there's no way for you to do things without, God knowing whether or not God is going to intervene that day. So like, I feel like that would make like very basic science stuff very difficult to actually do. So just circling back around, I think that we first need to define what God is in order to know what to expect.
Yeah, I guess this, like this whole like question is kind of like in vain or like fruitless or futile to ask what God is because like he's apparently, you can define him in any way you want, and he's like undefinable as well. So like that's the game. It's like the game is, okay, they define God as anything, but then once you say, well, it's actually this, say like I'm looking at a trash can right now. Oh, they'll say that's God or something like that. I'm like, well, no, it's a trash can. Well, God is undefinable. That's the game that Christians play. And like, I don't understand why you guys fall into that fucking trap every time.
Why we fall into that trap? When have we fallen into that trap?
I mean, this is going to be critical of the show. You guys can get pissed off if you want, but you guys have the same conversation over and over again.
This is my first time here. I don't get pissed off.
What you're saying is that like, when I say the show, I mean like atheists in general.
So before, when I'm having conversations with people, before I even entertain like what their God was doing or whatever, the first thing I want to do is ask for a definition of a God, right? I want them to define what their God is, what it does, how powerful it is, what doctrine they believe is inspired by it, etc. That's typically how my conversations start. I can't really criticize what God belief you have until you define what your God belief is. So I don't really know what you're talking about.
What? Well, I don't have a God belief because I agree. People have God concept. It's kind of like the self concept. Like yourself doesn't really exist because like you can't like. It's kind of like whatever. I don't know. I'm not a physicist, but like measuring something or whatever. Like you can't really like define it as it moves or whatever because by the time you define it, whatever, it's moved or whatever, and so it's now it needs to be redefined. But I feel like that's the same thing with God and the self and all that stuff.
Okay. Well, so
question.
Chris, like I feel like you just said I'm not a physicist, but I'm going to try to explain this particular concept very poorly, and it's going to be poor because I'm not a physicist.
Yeah, I know, but the thing is that the original physicists like did that, so like it's fine. Everybody's a physicist. They don't have to be a fucking trained person to be a fucking physicist.
No. I'm so sorry, Chris. But when we say physicist, we're talking about somebody has taken like the courses and has been awarded degrees because of their proficiency in this particular field of science. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about physicists. So
let me ask you
can
this.
play an equivocation game
because I worked at Little Caesars or something. Am I a chef because I worked at
before the academia? Did physics exist before academia?
Well, I mean, physics as the degree, or physics as in like the laws of physics.
As in people have been doing physics before. Have people been doing physics before it was institutionalized in academia?
I mean, that's a heavily loaded question. I feel because like as far as academia goes,
it is true. Thales in Greek, even in all cultures had physicists. It's just people that are curious about stuff. That's what the definition of physics really is, like this idea like I'm curious about how things work. It has nothing to do with fucking degrees. It has nothing to do with that. Oh man. Anyway, that's okay.
Chris.
Yeah.
You're equivocating what physicist means. Like obviously we're not going to call somebody. Well, you're equivocating the idea of physicist. So you're reducing what physicist means down to just some asshole with questions. And when we talk about physicists, we're talking about somebody that's been awarded a degree that has been, trained specifically in this area of science. Like that's what we're talking about here. You're wanting to reduce the word.
What does physis mean? That's the basic physis. I think it means force or something like that, or nature. Yeah. People that study nature is what
you just said we're not physicists, so why are you asking?
What I'm trying to say is historically, what? If Thales was the foundation of physics, and then a new Ionian physicists forever, Ionian physicists existed. They didn't have degrees by your definition, if they didn't have degrees, they weren't physicists. And so how could physics come
Chris.
into fruition as an academic discipline if there were no physics to be an institution?
Chris, am I a chef because I worked at McDonald's?
You might be.
Okay, that's not the right answer.
People that,
I am not a chef
or home
just because I worked
cooks
at McDonald's, right? There's a difference in knowledge between calling myself a chef and calling myself an employee at McDonald's, right? Like there's a lot of knowledge and experience and time and energy and that goes into being a chef. When I start at McDonald's, you clock in and you start making burgers. There's a lot. That's what you're putting up.
Because they're a slave. Right? They're a slave. They can't be a chef forever. What if there was a chef that worked at McDonald's? Would he not be a chef?
Say
if I was a chef and I decided to work at McDonald's, and I was really good at cooking, and then all of a sudden I'm not a chef because I work at.
I'm muting you. All right, you're muted right now, Chris, because you just don't know how to stop talking. So what we're trying to explain to you here is that you're equivocating the term physicist. We're talking about one kind of thing, and you're wanting to apply that label to just everybody that has had questions or some kind of shit. Oh, okay, he dropped. He apparently can't he has to be in control of the conversation, so he hung up. He probably didn't stop talking, and when when he saw that we weren't going to stop talking, he's just like, fuck this. I don't know if he was like trying to be like combative in the conversation, but in any case, he was equivocating on these terms. He was trying to, I don't even know where we began. I'm trying to run through the conversation in my head. Do you remember?
I'm trying to think too. We started off with, we get like, we needed to, can we imagine a universe or a whatever created by a god or not by a god? Like, I don't know. It was very spotty. We talked about a lot there. And I think he did come in pretty combative. Personally, I mean, he kind of came in and was like, "You guys get all pissed off and angry about whatever." And I was like, "Dude, I've never been here before. I don't like what."
Yeah, no, I remember that he pivoted a little bit to be like really shitty towards us because we quote unquote have the same conversation all the time. But I feel like the answer to that is you never know what conversation is going to click in someone's mind for unlocking some kind of different understanding of some kind of concept. So like you could watch debates all day long, and it's just that one debate that really clicks for you that sort of changes your mind on something. And so I find that even if I have the same conversation with different people every single time, there's either different things that get brought up, or there's just different opportunities to change people's mind. And I really don't like it when people try to like shit on other people for continuing to have the conversation. And I don't know about you, Calvin, but I just like having conversations in this area. Like I love talking about like religion and politics and the intersection between those and theology and all this other shit. Like, I don't know. Those are just interesting and entertaining conversations to have.
Yeah, no, they're super interesting to me. I mean, I get a huge kick out of it. I mean, it really is like thanks to me finding like the ACA shows and stuff like that I started to like actually realize like, wow, like people are having these types of conversations and they're not like debates, right? They're actual like kind of conversations. Like, wow, there's this cool call-in show type of thing. So yeah, I mean, it was like thanks to like kind of listening to the same conversation over and over that I got different perspectives of different people and different methods of reasoning and debate tactics and fallacies and and that all came from kind of listening to the kind of same questions being brought up over and over and over. Like, I mean, I've been doing what I've been doing for 6-7 years now. And I mean, I kind of have the same conversation almost every goddamn day of my life. And it never gets tiring for me. I'm having tons of fun,
Oh yeah, same here. I've been doing this since like 2012, so like it's been an interesting ride. I do want to implore everybody, if you have a friend that's a theist or somebody that's a theist, definitely tell them to call in. We'd love to talk to them. The number is 720-619-2288. We're one $5 super chat away from another conspiracy theory, but we do have another caller that's called in. So we've got Tom from Clackety Assholes. How's it going, Tom?
Hi. Yeah, so I am calling about something which I don't think anyone has addressed yet. It's in the atheist space. So, yeah. Sorry, I just.
Yeah.
So
what's the thing that hasn't been brought up? Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just turning the. Oh. Sorry. Sorry, I had the live stream going on the TV. I was just turning that off because it was distracting me hearing myself a few minutes ago.
Go ahead and turn away from that for a minute.
So, yeah. So, I have found evidence of a sort of the allegory of the cave in Plato's Republic. There is an account of Crazy Horse's vision, where it says by Black Elk, which says that where is it? I have it in front of me. That he went to, quote, the real world that is behind this one, and everything we see here is something like a shadow from that world. And now, it is very unlikely that Crazy Horse ever read Plato's Republic. I don't know if Crazy Horse spoke English, but I doubt there was a translation of it into Lakota, so this seems to be a very separate attestation of the theory of forms from a completely disconnected, well, almost completely disconnected culture, and yeah, like everything was made of spirit there. That yeah.
Let me jump in. I guess I'm just a bit confused. I don't really understand what you're arguing. If I'm being honest, I don't really get what you're going for here.
I am arguing that Plato's Allegory of the Cave, in which the real world is just a sort of analogous to a shadow projected from the world of forms, is correct, and that there is evidence that the Native American leader, Crazy Horse, actually entered that world of forms.
Okay.
So basically, you think that Plato's theory of forms is true about reality, that there's some kind of like higher plane of existence that contains these perfect versions of everything that's in reality. And because Crazy Horse had somewhat of a similar idea, that is sort of independent as attestation of a higher plane of existence that has these perfect forms. Is that right?
Well, I'm not sure if it's actually the case. There just seems to be a level of corroboration that no religion has.
Like, what do you mean by that? Like, level of corroboration? What do you mean by that?
So, like, if, say, I don't know, like, let's say the Australian Aboriginals, when Christian missionaries first went there, said, oh yeah, that Jesus guy, he visited us 1,000 years ago and said all of this stuff, that would be evidence for Christianity. This is sort of analogous to that, I guess. That.
Well, let me, if I can, Tom, let me bring this back into the realm of Calvin's background here. Just because there were different cultures that all built pyramids, does that therefore mean that there's an advanced alien race that taught them all that?
No, that's just because pyramids are a good way of stacking rocks.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So I'm trying to use this as an analogy to what your evidence is here. Plato came up with this idea of his theory of forms. Crazy Horse had similar ideas. Which is more likely, that this higher plane of existence where perfect forms of like, spiritual essences exist in a perfect way, that actually exists, or could it just be that this is a easily attained conclusion based on the um, based on the perception of imperfections in this world and the hope for a better, more perfect world? Like, do you think that it could have come from just basic human ingenuity, or is it something that is like magical and real?
Well, the interesting thing is that Crazy Horse, at least the source for it I have, never mentions that it is perfect. That seems to be an idea unique to Plato. The idea that this world is a shadow of the world of forms is in Crazy Horse, and that everything is made of some sort of non-matter form and all that stuff is in Crazy Horse, but it lacks the sort of idealized perfection that Plato has. So I don't see that the hope for a perfect world is necessarily responsible for Crazy Horse's ideas.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then what you're telling me is that they both had different ideas that were somewhat vaguely similar to each other. So why should this indicate some higher plane of existence to us if they are different enough for you to make that particular determination?
Okay, well, so it's not so much that the one paragraph description of Crazy Horse's vision mentions that it was imperfect, but rather that it does not mention it like being in some way transcendently perfect in the same way Plato's theory is. So it's more like Crazy Horse is probably not working from like wish fulfillment, and is silent on the issue of the perfection of this world, whereas Plato is not silent on it.
Okay, I don't think that really answered my question, though. Like, you yourself have been able to identify how different both of their ideas are. So if they are different enough to be distinguished from one another as being different ideas, then how does that point you to the truth of this higher dimensional reality?
So there are other cases of different thinkers coming up with similar ideas and sort of both being right. Like two people invented the telephone, I believe, like a few, and one of them just got to the patent office first. But I believe their designs were at least a little bit different. Independent inventions of ideas often will have some level of difference between them. So, and often if two people independently arrive at the same conclusion, that means it's right more than like just, because like oftentimes people say like, if say religion disappeared from the world of all its books, it would come back, but it would be very different, whereas science would come back the same. Seems to be like the theory of forms is something that comes back the same in a way.
Okay, well, Tom, I'll get back to my original analogy that I proposed. Just because pyramids exist in different cultures at different times, does that seem to indicate some kind of like higher intelligence or anything like that that needed to be there to teach all of those people how to stack rocks?
No, because
Okay, so what's the difference between that and your theory of forms idea here? Because it seems to me like these are just people independently coming to the same conclusion using whatever kind of experiential reasoning that they have for coming to it. Plato, he got to it through rationality and philosophy. He reasoned his way to it. Crazy Horse, they normally, like his people group, they had experiences and like dreams and visions and everything like that revealed this kind of thing to them. So they both came to the same conclusion in different ways, but they also had different ideas about what this, other higher plane of existence is. So similar to the pyramids, you've got the pyramids in Egypt that are built one kind of way. Then you've got Central American pyramids that are built in a different kind of way. It seems like the same thing here. Is there a way that you can differentiate my analogy from what you're saying?
Well, the thing is, a pyramid is a really good way of stacking rocks. In fact, one might even say it's the right way to stack rocks.
What's a right way? How do you determine a right way to stack rocks?
Yeah, that's kind of a weird thing to say.
If it doesn't fall down.
Squares don't fall down, like, inherently. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
but, I mean, pyramids can fall down.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know. I think it's a good analogy in that it is a useful and even correct idea. I mean,
I think you're trying really hard to hold on to this belief. I think you're trying really hard to hold on to it rather than actually taking in what John has been saying.
Yeah. I mean,
I have to ask Tom. Hold on, Tom. I have to ask, just to check. Are you fucking with us?
Pardon?
Are you trolling us?
Are you fucking with us? It feels like this is a bit of fuckery here, just with everything that you've said and whatnot.
Sometimes, okay, I am kind of playing devil's advocate here, just being completely honest.
But are you being honest, or are you like wasting our time? I feel like it's kind of a simple yes or no question.
Arguing for positions I do not personally hold. I think it is a productive argument to have, discussion to have, though.
Okay.
Okay.
I feel like that's kind of dodging.
You don't actually. Yes Yeah. You're totally dodging the yes or no, which I feel like is an implicit yes there, because I mean, I feel like if you're not actively holding this belief in that.
Yeah, but I don't think I'm wasting your time either. If you have other callers, just move on to them. You're going a long time between callers, though, so yeah.
I mean, we were going caller to caller to caller. Like we didn't end a call prematurely. The one guy hung up because he couldn't handle being muted and he had to control the conversation, which that's not how these shows work, right? So like we've been going caller to caller to caller. We're not wanting for, well, I mean, we are wanting for callers, but like not in that kind of way. But right. I mean, you could have come on and been honest about it, and been like, hey, I don't believe in this, but I also as like playing devil's advocate. Like, yeah. I mean, typically on these call-in shows, we don't like to interact with people that are pretending to hold certain beliefs. We normally like to talk to people that actually hold them.
Sorry, that's my bad.
I would just say, future note, just be upfront and honest about it. Like, I want to play devil's advocate, and we would be happy to play devil's advocate with you.
Cool. All
right. Well, Tom, thanks for fucking with us, and I hope that you have a good time over there in Clackety Assholes.
Thanks, Tom. Enjoy.
Bye.
Bye. My wife was like, "What the fuck is clackety assholes?"
I bet you
All
my wife's
right,
in the other room saying the same thing.
Yeah. Okay, so we did get another $25 in super chats to tell another conspiracy theory. I do want to implore people in the chat, if you got a friend or anybody like that that would like to interact with a couple of atheists and a couple of mythicists about any topic, feel free to call in 720-619-2288. We'd really appreciate it, and especially me. I'd love to talk to somebody about mythicism, why they think that Jesus was historical, because that's something that I'm very passionate about. Now, Calvin, what's another conspiracy theory?
All right. So Bigfoot, the big hairy guy, right? But the thing is with Bigfoot is that he's not just a hominid that's out in the wild, right? He's actually an interdimensional time traveling possible alien, possible remnant of this lost civilization that I just went on the whole spiel about it with Atlantis and stuff. So Bigfoot is the reason why you can't see Bigfoot, right? The reason why no one's ever gotten like good footage, a good camera photo, even really seen him in person, is because the second that you turn to look at him, he just travels interdimensionally. The second you look at him. So that's why no one has ever actually had good evidence of Bigfoot, because he has superpowers.
Interesting. So, I guess, in that particular idea, I guess that what was it, 1970s footage of Bigfoot walking? I guess that was you would have believed that was fake, right?
So honestly, as far as that particular footage goes, I don't think I've ever actually believed that was actual footage of Bigfoot. Even when I did believe in Bigfoot and stuff, I think I've honestly always just known that that's just a bunch of crock of bullshit. There's tons of, even receipts of I think it was, because it's the Patterson Gimlin film. I want to say it was, one of them is still alive. The other one died. And the one that died is the one that's the supposed guy in the costume and everything. And I want to say that was Gimlin that died. And he was actually there's literally receipts from a local party store of them buying a gorilla suit. And it literally has his information on it and stuff. And it's from the same time period, slightly before. And then suddenly they just have this footage of Bigfoot. And of course they don't show anyone else in the footage. They don't, he doesn't pan over and show the other guy, because Patterson and Gimlin both there. It's just a guy holding the camera. Almost as if that guy was just in the monkey suit that he just bought.
Yeah. I actually, I was part of a debate tournament a while back. It was not that big, serious of a thing, but I made it to the final round. And it was me against a guy who believed in Bigfoot, and he took more of a cryptozoology, I guess, sort of angle at it. There's, hairs that are found and everything like that. And so my wife was over there, quick doing research about his opening statement and everything like that. And she wrote things down on my little notebook and everything, because I've never debated anybody that actually believed in Bigfoot. And so it's I don't know, all this sounds pretty crazy to me. But it was an interesting debate nonetheless. But yeah, that's crazy. Interdimensional. That sounds like a Doctor Who episode, but with the aliens. I don't know if you know which one I'm talking about.
No, I was not in on the Doctor Who stuff, to be honest. I've never watched it even a little bit.
Well, yeah, so this was the Matt Smith Doctor Who time period, and there were these aliens, and every time you saw the alien, they would erase your memory and reset you, right? And so what they did was they drew lines on their arms and on their bodies so that they could count the number of times they've seen the alien. And so it would just pan over and you'd see the alien, and then they'd look back and they'd look at their arm oh no. There's 25 ticks on my arm here. And
wow, that's
so
interesting.
it's kind of weird that it would have somewhat of a similar thing there. Well, with the exception of you never see him because he travels interdimensionally. The silence, yes, the silence is what it was called. So if anybody wants to call in, we do have all lines open. They're all free and open. If you want to call in, the number is on the screen. You can also hit up the web link in the description if you are living outside of the U.S. We've got, the number is 720-619-2288, and we'd really love to talk to you about why you believe in God. If you've got evidence for the historicity of Jesus, we'd love to talk to you about that. Which, let's talk about that for a second. Now, a couple of years ago, you started really looking into like the historicity of Jesus, and I'm kind of curious, like, what was there one particular thing that sort of swayed you to the mythicist position, or like, what was that like for you?
Yeah, there was no like I don't know, like last straw, I guess. It just kind of came down to like I didn't realize that there was like even a such thing as like mythicists, that there were people out there who didn't think that Jesus existed. I was like, wow, that's kind of a silly thing, I guess. Like I at the time, but then I was like, well, let's look into why these people don't believe in Jesus. So that's when I started looking into people like Bart Ehrman and David Fitzgerald and different people that are talking about the existence of Jesus, and Richard Carrier, and so I just kind of fell into this hole and started to think like, wow, like maybe there isn't as much evidence for this guy as I actually thought there was. I guess I never really thought about it. So that's when I reached out to David Fitzgerald to be on my podcast at the time. And he actually did 2 episodes with me, like probably 3 hours worth of conversation between us. And, we talked about mythicism and stuff. And he sent me like all of his books too. I read all of his books, and, just kind of was like, wow, there really isn't as much behind Jesus as you would think. And that's not even just for like Jesus, even like kind of almost like even a Muhammad mythicist. I'm not even 100% convinced that Muhammad, the prophet from Islam, even was a real person. I don't find that super convincing. Or like the Buddha, or you name the like prophetic figure in here. It's like I don't think there's enough evidence to warrant believing it. So it's just kind of the position that I hold. I mean, I'm open to it if people want to prove that Jesus exists for the sake of conversation. I warrant that Jesus exists. But as soon as people hear that I don't actually believe that Jesus was even a real person to begin with, that's when they turn the conversation and they just want to talk about the mythicism thing and away from the magical stuff, which is actually the important thing.
Yeah. No, I can agree with that. I do think that interacting on the whole magical aspect of Jesus is quite important, but like, and I don't normally like to interact with, like theists on the question of like the historicity of Jesus, but I mean that's primarily because they're still operating on the whole magicalness of Jesus kind of thing. And so I typically like to interact with atheists on it, because then you can get past the whole magical thing and you can actually dive into like what's historically like true possibly about it. Oh, I do. Apparently, we got another conspiracy theory already in the super chat. So, Calvin,
no.
I'm going to pressure you one more time. What's another conspiracy theory?
All right, another conspiracy theory. So Viracocha, don't know if you've ever heard that before. Viracocha is a god, probably like one of the major gods of Aztec mythology, right? And you think of like Machu Picchu, Cusco. These are all, Peru is like a very interesting part. Ooh, that actually makes me think of another conspiracy. I've already got another one for next time. The whole Viracocha is actually, in Mayan mythology, he's equivalent to Quetzalcoatl. They're basically the same thing. They have very, very similar depictions and, explanations. Viracocha, the story of Viracocha, who's like the creator god of Aztec mythology, is he arrived from Lake Titicaca, which is right where off of the coast of Machu Picchu. Viracocha comes out of the mist on a boat, and he arrives at Machu Picchu, what's going to be Machu Picchu. And he has a magic book with him, like it's just a book, but he's able to levitate things and move things to his will using this book. And I was under the impression, I believed that Viracocha was a survivor of Atlantis, ancient lost civilization. He arrived right on this boat, and he had his book or his ancient lost high technology, which he used to build Machu Picchu and Cusco. And that's what inspired, the Mayans and, the et cetera, et cetera. So basically, Viracocha, the creator god of Aztec mythology, and Quetzalcoatl, one of the creator gods of Mayan mythology. Both of them are the same person, and they originate from Aztec mythology, and they're actually just leftover people who didn't die during the Younger Dryas epoch and found their way to Peru. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've got I've got this conspiracy theory like board game that I feel like you've just memorized them all. And like it's just like pulling a card out. Like, what's the next one?
I think I know what you're talking about too. I think I've seen it before. Is it kind of like Catan, kind of?
No, I mean, it's more trivia based. So it's like they ask you questions about conspiracy theories and you get points or whatever. But we do have a theist online. Are you ready to take our next call?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So we've got Draper. He's calling in from, Pesky Argonauts.
Oh, at least you tried.
I don't know. Hold on. Yeah, Pesky Argonauts, Draper. How you doing, Draper? What you doing?
What's up?
Hey, how's it going, guys? How you doing?
Good.
Yo, I like that Graham Hancock stuff too, though. It's interesting, right? The pyramids and all that.
It's fun. It's fun to think about.
Global civilization. Yeah, yeah. It's a good time. Yeah. So I guess calling in about like sort of a logical approach to. So, I mean, I'll say that, you know what, actually, I had a question for you guys before I get into that. It would be something more like, anecdotal evidence, right? So somebody tells a story about something that happened, and obviously that's not good. That's obviously not good scientific evidence or empirical evidence or anything like that. But and so it's easily dismissed. So let's just say hypothetically that was actually the only evidence that there could ever be, right? There could be no other way to discern whether or not this thing exists. Then I guess it would be safe to assume that there would be no way to measure it empirically, and so we can only approach the question philosophically, right? Does that make sense?
Well,
hello? Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, we're here. Just taking a second to really think out what you're asking. I guess, in my opinion, I would need to be able to discern that experience as actually being part of reality and not just some kind of like trick your brain has played on you, or like some experience that you had because there was some kind of environmental factor that caused you to maybe hallucinate things. Now, like, as opposed to having some kind of like mental illness or something like that caused you to hallucinate. So, I mean, I think that we'd have to sort that out first as like, oh, I had this experience happened in reality, but we would need to actually verify that it happened in reality.
Okay. So then say that you are the individual having these experiences, right? Then you're trying to puzzle this out, like you just said. And so they say they're continuous, like or frequent, I should say. They seem to come with a high degree of frequency, and it's almost as if nature like speaking to you or something. And of course, as a perfectly rational, sane human being, if this starts happening to you, you're really confused about how this could possibly be, what the hell's going on, am I nuts? Am I hallucinating? Right? That's actually would be a rational question, but they continue to happen, and they seem to have significant meaning in the life, it's almost as if like breadcrumbs are being dropped in front of you or something, right? Metaphorically speaking. And so you follow them out, and then it starts to lead you to results in your life that are significantly better than any of the results you ever got. And these events were catalyzed by the practice of a particular exercise that someone told you if you do this exercise, you will begin to have these experiences, and these will be the results of what you have, right? Like, what do you think? Like, hypothetically, if a person were to find themselves in that position in life, like, what do you think what would be a good way to ponder what it is that's happening if something like that were to happen to someone?
Yeah, I mean, if that happened to like me personally, like if I was having like experiences that I wasn't really able to explain, like, I used to have like ghost experience, what I thought were ghost experiences and stuff like that. And the thing is if I wasn't able to test, once I figured out that I wasn't able to test for and demonstrate like ghosts or whatever hallucination, whatever delusion, whatever I was having, I realized that I didn't really have a reason to believe it. Sometimes your mind does really crazy things and there just really is no explanation to it. Sometimes you just need to be comfortable saying, hey, I don't have an explanation to that until further notice, but I'm not going to call it a ghost because a ghost comes with a lot of baggage, right? I just don't know what that thing was. So I think until you can come up with a reliable way to test for and demonstrate your experience, I think you're warranted in just saying that you don't know what that was. Maybe go see a doctor if it's continuous, like we talked about, right? Like if it's like an all day, everyday thing, or more than once in a while type of thing, probably should go to the doctor and make sure that everything is okay up there, right? And kind of go from there, and then see what tests you can try to develop to demonstrate what is going on.
Well, what if the consequences weren't, according to the person experiencing them, wasn't like negative in any way, and they were actually extremely positive? Would you encourage them to continue on that path, or would you like say, no, let's find out what's wrong here? Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you think? What would you do if you were advising that person, say?
Yeah, so I think that truth is more important than feelings, to be honest. So if I'm not saying like crush people's dreams for the sake of truth or whatever, crush their hopes and dreams. I'm not not saying that, but just plant those couple seeds of doubt. You're not going to change everyone's mind off, one conversation, two conversations, but just kind of questioning those people and giving them something to take away from it. I think is enough. You don't need to necessarily agree and say, cool. I think there's plenty of people that believe in Christianity who are really great people. Right. But there's also people who believe in Christianity that are really terrible people. And that goes for people who believe in ghosts. A lot of great people who believe in ghosts, a lot of terrible people who believe in ghosts. It's just a matter of people are still people outside of these beliefs. And I think if the belief is benefiting them and isn't hurting anyone else, I don't really see a problem with it. But I do think that it is more beneficial for everyone to know of and believe in things that are true rather than follow falsities for the sake of their feelings.
Okay.
And just to get in here.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say that there's also the possibility of correlation fallacy here, because you could think that something is correlated with these events when it's not actually correlated. So like you could do this practice, but at the same time you start eating correctly and walking more and everything like that, and you start losing weight, and it's like, oh shit. And I'm guessing that you're getting towards prayer and like the efficiency of prayer and all this other stuff is where you seem to be wanting to go with it. So if you started praying and then you also started doing these other things and you started losing weight, it's not the prayer that's causing you to lose weight. It's these other things that are causing you to lose weight. So, I mean, you're talking about this in kind of like a general vague sense, but I feel like we would really need to investigate specific claims. So I don't know if you want to make a specific claim about things that have happened, like good things that have happened to you because you started this practice. If you wanted to talk about that, then we could give you a better answer other than these very vague and generalized sort of statements.
Well, okay, yeah, I could do that, but I'd like to address what, and I'm sorry, you're John, right? And I'm not looking at the screen, so I don't remember your names. John and...
That's fine. Yeah, I'm John and it's Calvin.
Calvin, that's right. Yeah, so what Calvin had mentioned about, I'd rather believe something is true, even if it sacrificed me my comfort, right? So I actually am in agreement with that as well. Now, but it starts to get a little layered here. You know what I mean? Like, because it is true that if a person can believe something that makes them more comfortable, it would almost be cruel to take that off of them. You know what I mean? But barring that, I would say that there is the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism, which would make the claim that that basically if something makes you uncomfortable, then somewhere in there you believe something that isn't true. And then we can move over into another philosophy that kind of correlates with that, where it would say basically, you know, underneath everything, if we don't like the way that we feel, if we are in any kind of emotional pain, and the argument can be made for physical pain too, but I don't really want to get into that. But if you're experiencing pain, it is quite literally caused by a delusion. And that delusion would be that this is wrong, okay? Like there's something wrong. Okay, does that make any sense? Like, let me clarify that. So basically, if you're upset, then you believe that something is wrong. Okay, and the idea is that that's not true. And if you can come to believe the truth, that say everything's happening the way it's supposed to, for instance, then you won't experience any emotional pain. Yeah, God.
I still feel like we're talking in vague generalities here, and I'm kind of getting lost in the vague language. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. So a specific situation. My mom dies. My mom dies, and I'm upset about that. Right. So
I'm
underneath
so sorry,
of there, like, and my mom didn't really die. I'm just trying to give an example of what to be more specific.
Oh.
My mom, she's doing all right. Sorry. I mean, would you prefer me say something real, or does an example work? Or
I mean, no, I guess an example can work. Yeah.
Okay. So say my mom dies, right? And then I'm upset. So according to this philosophy, it's because I have a belief underneath that's not true. Okay, there's something that's not true about that that's making me upset to begin with. You know what I mean? Like, well, death is bad. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not to interrupt. I got to stop you right there because that doesn't like make sense to me. You know, like just because like.
Well, of course,
I'm not seeing
right.
how your mom dying, for as an example, makes you upset. Therefore, there's something not true about that. I'm not seeing the equivocation.
Yeah, well, there's something that I'm believing that's not true. Like, for instance, we say, so if my mom dies, that's bad, right? I mean, I think most of humanity would say, yeah, that's bad that your mom died.
I don't know
it's not good, right?
Bad. It's just a thing that happens. That sucks.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it kind of depends, right, Draper? Let's say that your mom was an abusive asshole that beat you for hours and hours on end. Is it really? I mean, what the person that's been abused?
Well, then you might say it was good. It probably wouldn't be upset.
Right.
Probably like good for that.
Exactly.
Good. She's dead.
I feel like this is an example.
So I'm assuming you love your mom. I'm assuming the person loves their mom. Assuming the person loves their mom.
Hold on, Draper. This is. I was trying to make a point, kind of about how you speaking about these sort of what you feel are analogous stories that you're making up. This isn't really helping us get to, because you can formulate any kind of story to tell any kind of narrative to make your point. Right? Like I could tell a narrative that, hey, one day I lifted my butt cheek, farted, and I lost 5 pounds. So like, is it bad that I think, oh, I should lift my butt cheek and fart every day so that I can continue to lose weight? Like it makes me happy that I'm losing weight, but does the farting really factor into that? Maybe, maybe not. But like, if I think that if I magically fart out the fat, then, that can be like a bad thing that can negatively, emotionally. But again, that's just an example of how I can make up any kind of fucking story that's not based in reality. I would rather work with something that's actually based in reality. Do you have like a reality-based story that you could tell us?
Yeah, sure. I go to a concert. As I walk in, there's a bunch of guys there make fun of my shirt. I'm going with my friends. They make fun of my shirt. They say, "Wow, nice shirt." You know, I don't want to use the terms they used here, but it was very insulting, right? And I thought that was wrong. you shouldn't do that. You don't treat people like that. That's a terrible thing that they did there. You know what I mean? I'm worried that what my friends are going to think. You know, I'm worried about what everyone thinks. So that's wrong if they think poorly of me, that I didn't stand up for myself. So I blast the dude right between the eyes, you know? And
wait, are you admitting that you killed somebody on the stream, or?
No, it was just a punch in the face. I'm sorry. I was a teenager, man. I went to a concert and I punched the kid in the face for insulting my shirt, you know, in front of my friends. Yeah, it was. I mean, it's a long time ago, man. I'm really not violent, but
okay.
No, I don't condone that.
Yeah, but because I thought what he did was wrong, I then did something wrong and then justified it by saying, you don't talk to people like that. So underneath it all, if I could have realized the truth that maybe this dude felt insecure himself, he needed, an outlet for his stress. He needed something to try to prop himself up above other people. And maybe I could have understood that, not got upset, you know, and my emotional agitation was actually rooted in not viewing reality accurately. And if you can get to the true understanding of things, like the causal mechanism of it, well, then the emotional pain kind of goes away. You know what I mean? So I would actually argue that truth leads to comfort.
I'm not really following. Honestly, I've kind of lost what the relevance of this conversation.
Okay,
I don't really know what the end game of this conversation.
Okay.
I don't know, if we're supposed to I don't
I'll cut
understand
right to the chase.
what you're arguing for that really, I guess, matters.
I will cut right to the chase. Okay. All right. There's no such thing as right and wrong or good or bad. They don't actually exist. They're arbitrary, always arbitrary. We can take the worst things that there are and say that.
Hold on. I got to stop you. Sorry, I got to stop you. So right and wrong do exist. Even if they are arbitrary, there's still things that exist.
Exist in the minds of the people who perceive them. Yes.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they don't.
Subjectively. You're right. It doesn't. You're right. I'll grant you that. Yeah. It doesn't mean they don't exist. It means they exist arbitrarily. Yeah.
I mean, I come from the position that morality is subjective, right? That it's subjective based on the person, but there are objective moral truths, right? There are still objective moral truths, like unaliving people is not okay. Sorry, I'm used to saying unaliving because of TikTok, but killing people is not cool. Like you ending someone's life against their own will objectively is not okay, right? So regardless of what subjective moral standards you might have.
Well, if you're the killer, that might not be true because your objective would be to kill them. So I don't know that the killer would necessarily agree with you.
We talked about, maybe the killer thinks that it was the right thing to do, but objectively ending people's lives doesn't allow them to enjoy their lives anymore.
And why?
So it is an objective moral bad.
Okay, so you're saying that you know what happens to people when they die?
No. Based off of what I
know,
I don't see a reason to assume that there is anything else, right? I don't.
Right. And we don't know much. Else. Like when it comes to that, we don't know much. We don't have a whole lot of information to let us know what happens to people when they die, but we know it's bad, right?
Well, I mean, we know it's bad because we only understand
we don't like
existence through our life. Hold on, let me finish talking. Okay.
Sorry.
We understand our existence through life. This is the only way that we can know about our existence. And you say that we know very little about what happens after death. We know nothing about what happens after death. We don't know if anything continues after this, but if energy flowing through our bodies is how we experience the world, then I don't see how that we can experience anything after death. So yes, it's bad in that we cease to exist at that point. The energy stops flowing through our bodies. So yes, it's bad in that point, but it's only bad when you take a more humanistic approach about your view of reality. So it really depends on what your end goal is, as far as existence and everything like that. It depends on what your end goal is in order to make those determinations. If you don't have an end goal, then there's like no way for you to make a determination of right and wrong. Typically, theists, when they call in and they're a Christian, they say, well, the end goal is to praise God so that you get into heaven. So like that is your end goal. I'm not saying that's your end goal, but I'm saying like for Christians, that's the end goal. I myself, secular humanist, I think that developing a society that's good for everybody, not just a certain set of people, is the best way to build a society and to live and exist. And so everything I do is driven in that kind of way. So like I have to ask you, what is your end goal for that you're using to judge, moral questions as good, bad, right, or wrong, or neutral?
So the goal is to live as pleasurable and happy as a life as possible. And I would actually make the argument that there's no way to escape that goal as a living organism. It's literally it's the crux of every decision that everybody makes, even if they don't necessarily admit to it. Even an altruistic person would if you ask them why they're altruistic and they give to others and they give freely without any thought of reward, it would be because that brings them pleasure. Because if they didn't, then they wouldn't do it.
So Draper, the call notes, the notes that you have in here says that you have logical evidence for God. So you're agreeing with us about the subjectivity of morality. How does that get us to God, or are you trying to make some other kind of argument here?
Well, what it does is it makes it so that I want to say this as innocuously as possible because I don't mean anything by it, but I believe that if you call something bad, okay, that is illogical on its face because it's circular logic, because you can say, why is it bad? Because I don't like it. Why don't you like it? Because it's bad. And then why is it bad? And you could just keep going on and on there, and there's no logical foundation for it. So if my philosophizing about the nature of the world, if I'm trying to arrive at a more objective version of reality, I can't do it through any emotions at all. And now we say, well, why do bad things happen in the world? How could there be a God and there's bad things that happen if this God is all powerful? But then I'm going to use, well, because bad things happen, he can't be all powerful, but I'm building it on a foundation that is purely subjective. I'm trying to ascertain an objective truth through a subjective lens, and it's just fallacious on its face. And so in order to ponder these things, you have to set your feelings aside, as painful as that is, and then ponder them through that lens. So, and if a person does this, then what happens is they don't say things like, oh, the argument is that atheism, well, here's the claim. Here's the claim that atheism is built on an emotional bias. Because of a resentment towards, if there is a God, then he ain't done nothing for me. I won't worship that God there.
No. All right, so hold on.
Go ahead. Then correct me.
Wait a second, Draper. We've been on this call for 20 minutes. We've meandered our way to this claim. You could have come on and just made this dumbass claim to begin with. But you instead chose to drag us along for 20 minutes talking about generalities and shit. Can I just request that next time you call in that you just start with that? And I'm going to let Calvin go and address what you just said.
I'm sure. I'm sorry, man. Listen, I'm going off the cuff here, man. I seen the show started and I was driving and I just, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into my argument here. So I'm just practicing. So I apologize. So you prefer it if I just start with this claim on its face? Yeah.
Yeah. Typically,
I'm not going to
want to know what's
right. I'm not going to speak for every host here on the line, but not dragging us along for 20 minutes just to get to this argument. I mean, I would rather start there because this is the real discussion that you want to have. But anyways, Calvin, go ahead and say what you were wanting to do.
Yeah. So atheism doesn't say or claim anything. Atheism is just the lack of a belief in a God. So the reasons why people don't believe in a God is not part of that definition, right? So if people are angry at God, that means that they're not an atheist because they believe in a God. So that doesn't really check out, right? So I'm an
Right.
atheist, for example, not because I hate God, because I hate the things that God was doing, none of that, because I don't believe God exists and did those things that are like in this book or any others, right? I just don't have the evidence that God exists. I lack the evidence of that God, so I just don't believe it. It's not because I think that the God is evil, that I think that he's a jerk and that he kills babies. I don't believe he did any of that because he doesn't exist. So I don't hate it. It's like me, I don't hate Voldemort, right? Like for killing for trying to kill Harry Potter or killing his parents, right? I don't hate Voldemort. He's just not a real person. And like my positions on God is irrelevant to how I feel about the God, right? And how I come from, how my subjective moral standards come from is from well-being. I don't like other people to be hurt. I don't like to be hurt. I don't like to be hurt, and I don't think that feels good. So I don't want that to happen to other people.
Agree
It's
completely
pretty simple,
on that.
right?
Sure.
Like I think that I don't want to die. I don't want other people to die. So I don't want to.
Right.
I don't think it's okay for other people to kill them. That's just my personal opinion. But again, it's an objective truth because it is hindering that person's well-being. If you kill them, you are ending their life.
Well,
that is impeding on their well-being. So therefore, I would consider that a subjective moral standard for myself, but it is an objective moral truth because of well-being being ended.
Okay, and that is true. That is objectively true, that well-being ended. What's not objectively true is that it's bad. That's kind of what I'm saying. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily wrong. If there's wrong according to me, I agree with you completely,
Draper.
right? But anyways,
Draper,
we don't want to go on morality, so sorry.
Well, hold on. I think you're mixing up concepts here because you can be objective about your conclusion, right? What you mean is that it's not a transcendental truth to you. Like this isn't some kind of truth that transcends human existence all the way up to some kind of like higher power or something like that. I feel like that's what you're talking about, but you're using the word objective because like both.
Hold
on, Draper,
Okay.
Draper, hold on. I'm not done talking.
Go ahead.
So both Calvin and I would take a more humanistic approach to our worldview, right? We put the well-being of fellow humans at the paramount of like things that inform our actions. Like when we conclude whether or not an action is good, bad, or neutral, we put like human autonomy and human well-being and all that. Like we think of that first when we have an action against like humans and life in general. I would say is part of the humanist sort of worldview there. But that's what would guide you in your determinations of like moral questions to come to moral conclusions. And so it just depends on what is the paramount that you're like, what is the goal that you're seeking here? Like, are you seeking to serve God, or are you seeking to make the society a better place for every like living thing?
Because you can't have both.
I don't know. Why couldn't you have both?
Well, I mean, it depends on what God you believe in, but if we're talking about the Christian God.
Well, here, I'll tell you how I navigate life real quick. I notice if I'm cool and happy, I just move forward, live my life. Everything's peachy. If I notice that I'm upset, then I notice that I'm upset, first of all. Then I say, wait a minute, there's nothing wrong happening here. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. This is God's plan. And then I ask, how can I be of maximum service to everything now that it is this way? How can I find my part in this? Is there a lesson for me to learn? What could I do to improve? How could I be more skillful? You know what I mean? You could say you can leave out the God's plan thing, and I would agree with you too. You could. You could just say whatever. But the point is that we turn the belief from bad over to good, and then all of the causes of malicious behavior, all of the causes of malevolence, all of the causes of people stealing, people trying to hurt other people is completely and utterly destroyed. It does not exist anymore.
Which God?
And so those
Draper,
people don't need to.
Draper.
Which God? Just everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
So
if I was to articulate my, here I'll try to be more specific. God is all that there is. He makes everything from himself because he is all that there is. God is in charge of all occurrence from the beginning of beginningless time and into the infinite future. Everything is being played like a
Draper.
song. Okay, right.
Draper.
There you go. That's it.
Okay. All right. But to me, this just sounds like you're making up a God that conforms to whatever you want. And I mean, I guess good for you, but at the same time,
no, it covers all. It covers omnipotence, omniscience, and omnibenevolence. Well, we'll leave that one off because that one's hard to defend.
That's a very Christian idea. Like the triomni God that you're talking about here is a very Christian idea.
Well, it's also a very Taoist idea. It's a very Taoist idea. No, it's not. Christians believe in free will. My idea literally completely eliminates free will. Says that there isn't any. No one's in charge of nothing.
Okay, regardless of that, what I'm saying is that you're just making up your own version of God that comports with the things that you want to be true or the things that you think are true or good or bad, and then you're just calling it God. So like
no.
I don't know about you, Calvin, but I just don't have any interest in people that make up shit.
Yeah, I mean,
you think that I made this up?
I mean, let's just end it with this. Like, are you a Christian?
No, that's why I'm trying to recruit you guys to go argue with Christians.
Are you like so? Are you a deist? Like what? I don't like. That's the thing is we don't have a baseline.
Listen. When people have their Christians, they have their spiritual awakenings in a church, so they think that Christianity is the way. Buddhists had their spiritual awakenings in a Buddhist temple, so they think Buddhism is the way. I had my spiritual awakening in a crack house, so I couldn't exactly assign it to any religion. How we articulate God is you're talking about the thing that supposedly made all of creation. What is it made out of? Where's he at? What's he look like?
Okay, I'm sorry, I gotta pause you. Did you just say that your concept of God comes from a drug house? That's like, is that where we're at right now?
No. That's not what I said. No.
You just said that
I said that my spiritual awakening happened when I was a very devout atheist. Then ended up finding God or getting found by whatever you want to call it. But it didn't happen. The point is that the association.
God damn it, Draper.
What's that?
I don't know what a devout atheist is. You're using religious language to describe your former atheist self, and it doesn't make sense to say devout atheist. Like people are just atheists.
So you can't take the context clues and figure out what I meant?
I did. I feel like I did because I'm saying
there you go. Then it was a good. Then I did a good job.
Jesus Christ, I was in the middle of the conversation.
Saying devout atheist just tells me that you have a fundamental misunderstanding as to what atheism is, like what non-belief in a God is. That's just all it tells me. So it just kind of throws a wrench in everything for me. That's why
where does the question? The first person to ever ponder whether or not where does the idea even come from? Do you think, if you had to venture a guess? Where do we even? Why did anyone ever even ponder that?
That they had around them.
Okay.
And sometimes that wasn't very good information or a lot.
Well, let us imagine for a second that someone just gained their sentience or something and gained enough self-awareness to rouse curiosity. I mean, I feel like one of my first questions would be, what the hell is this? Where'd this come from? How did this happen? Right?
Hey, Draper, how about we think about a couch becoming sentient and suing J.D. Vance for rape? Or charging him with rape or something like. How about let's go there? Like, let's think about that. Like, why don't we just posit every kind of ridiculous fucking story that we can?
No, I don't think there's anything ridiculous about that. I mean, just think about where does the idea of God come from in the first place? I mean, the idea of God is as old as humanity, as far as we know. So before any religion that we currently have.
No, Draper, and it's what Calvin initially said there. It's that people are looking, like even ancient peoples were looking to explain things they didn't understand. The only thing that they understood was that people had an effect on reality. So they imagined some higher person, somebody out there that was doing these things that they didn't understand. if you want to know the origin, I don't know why you're sighing like that. Like I'm giving you the very basic general, like explain it
me?
like I'm five
No,
kind of answer.
I wasn't sighing. Maybe I'm breathing heavy. I don't know. I'm walking, so I don't know. I didn't mean any. No, I'm listening to you, man. I'm not. I hear what you're saying.
Okay. Well, I mean, you seem to directly go past what Calvin had said. So it seemed to just not
well,
land
I was
for you.
I was rephrasing his question, and actually, I do agree with that. I agree that we attempt to personify things in order to explain things that we can't understand. Like Zeus was the lightning, right? You know what I mean? So, but I'm saying though that when we talk about like where did everything come from, how did we all get here? I think that would be one of the, that's your base existential question. Like it all starts from there, and you can actually, that is a dichotomous answer to that. It's either everything was intended or it wasn't. No matter what you come up with is going to fall into one of those two categories.
So you believe in a creator God. Like I don't see anything that requires agency for the universe to come into existence, or for this for the Earth to be here, or for life to develop on this planet. So like if you want to make it out to be dichotomous, then yeah, I don't think the universe is magical. I think that it's explained by natural processes.
Sure, but are those natural processes, were they spontaneous, or were they set in motion, or are they continuously so first of all, I just want to say creation, I believe, is an ongoing process. It isn't necessarily something that happened some time ago. It's just the flow of nature, right? The transformation of one thing into another that is going to happen over time.
I really don't like the equivocation that we're running into tonight, because you're equivocating what we mean by creation. Like we're talking about the inflation of the universe. Young Earth creationists out there think that God created the universe, expanded it, and whatever. The natural explanation is much more complicated than that, obviously. So like when we talk about creation, we're not talking about like the type of creation that you're talking about. We're very specifically talking about the inflation of the universe. Right.
Well,
like that
well, however
creation.
it happened. I mean, if that's how it occurred, then sure, we'll go with that. The Big Bang, I would say that was a creation process, sure. But I'm saying that I believe that when a painter paints a painting, it's a creation the moment he puts the paint on the canvas. If he's continuing to paint it doesn't stop being a painting. You know what I mean? So what I'm saying is that if we look at all the systems that are built upon systems, and all of the ecosystems and solar systems and biological systems and all these things that are working in concert with one another to create the effects that they create with such economy, it just seems significantly more likely that however it happened would fall into the intended category, and it seems extremely less likely.
Hold on, I want you to look something up.
Category.
I want you to look up something. It's called personal incredulity, right? You think that God was necessary for everything to come into existence because you personally don't understand how things could come into existence otherwise. So that's a personally incredulous statement, and you're basically making a God of the gaps argument.
No, it's not. I'm not explaining how God did anything or how it happened. It's not a God of the gaps. I didn't fill in that gap. Science is the study of God.
You are filling in that gap. Draper, you are filling in that gap. You're filling in that gap with God. You don't know how all of this stuff came into existence, so you put God in it. Oh, he dropped. He died. He hung up.
Do you almost say he died?
I didn't mean to say it like that. Yeah. Didn't mean to sound like Jesse Lee Peterson, like he did. But anyways, so we do have one more caller, and we are about to get to him. Do we have another conspiracy theory? Have you been keeping up?
No, I think we're still
okay. No, we're still a little bit of ways. So we will be getting to the super chats after this next call. Lines aren't open anymore, so we are going to be going to Maureen from Canada. What's up there, Maureen? Hey, how you doing?
How are you? I had a question for Calvin. I just wanted to say, though, that last call was exhausting and didn't even have a point. And I think when you finally got to the point, That's when he hung up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I mean,
yeah. Sorry. No, my question was for Calvin. I said, I guess most of the real wild conspiracy theories that I think of are things from the past or supernatural things that are very difficult to be able to find proof of, just like in religions. And I was just saying, is there any, you had mentioned Hillary Clinton, you don't have to talk about her, but when you have a conspiracy that is so close to what's going on, like people are around today and that, how were you able to believe in that? Like, I guess
How was I
that's my
able
question.
to believe in it? Honestly, the reason why I really took to conspiracy theories and such is because I think that just like religion, it tries to explain a lot of things. You know, it tries to explain everything from the creation of the universe to even like panspermia and evolution, or you know, whatever it might be. Conspiracy theories try to explain a lot of that, and it just sounded like so interesting to me. So interesting to where I wanted it to be true. Honestly, like the sprout of my conspiracy theories goes all the way back to Roswell, the Roswell, New Mexico, you know, UFO crash. Like that's probably like one of the first conspiracies I like ever heard of, really, and really started to like look into. And it was so like fascinating and interesting, and I wanted it to be true so bad that I almost like faked myself into it, to where like I thought so much about it, and I started looking for evidence for Roswell rather than evidence against Roswell. I was only looking for the positive evidence of Roswell happening. And I was basically trying to convince myself that it was true. And it started to get deeper and deeper and deeper until I, you know, just thought I believed in a bunch of crazy stuff because I thought it was really cool. And I would try to find evidence to defend that cool thing that I was thinking of. And it was almost like I almost had this like superiority complex. Like, I know something you don't, type of thing. Let me teach you something that you don't know. You're just silly and stupid because you don't know that, you know, Viracocha was actually the creator god, or whatever it might be, right? Like, I just thought that I knew something that you guys didn't. And I wanted to almost like, you know, jump on that train of, you know, be famous, you know, telling conspiracy theories of crazy stuff, right? And it didn't really turn out that way. The more I talked about it, the more I realized how absurd it sounded. And the more I started talking to similar people who also believed in it, hearing that echoed back at me, the exact same things I believed coming from someone different, I was thinking, wow, those people sound fucking crazy. They sound really crazy right now. And that's how I sound. I should probably think about this.
Yeah, I guess I wondered how it is with somebody who's like living today that you had a conspiracy about. Isn't it easier to confront them and find out that what you believed wasn't true?
Yeah. I mean, like with the Hillary Clinton thing, you know, like I was believing that she was a reptile. Like, honestly, a lot of people were just saying she was. Other conspiracy theorists were saying she was. And I was like, yeah, you know, whatever. They were showing like the weird camera glitches of her eyes turning and, you know, her skin becoming scaly in certain frames or whatever. And, you know, it was more so like, yeah, I mean, I believe that she like legitimately was a reptile alien just in human disguise. Right. And that was just like the whole like, the whole US government, basically. I mean, but Hillary Clinton was kind of the head of it. Why? I don't know. I even thought Justin Bieber was a reptilian alien, was part of it too. Don't know why. But yeah, I totally believed it. And I don't really have a solid reason for it. I just thought it was cool. It was fun. I genuinely was convinced of it, even though, but did I really have evidence for it? Not really. Honestly, I just had some weird Google searches and YouTube videos in my, you know, watch lists. That's really all I had as evidence, but it was enough for me because I was really gullible. And it wasn't until I started to like investigate my religious beliefs that I started to learn different ways of investigating things from, you know, ancient history, today, or whatever. Finding the ACA shows and, you know, talking to like Anthony Magnabosco and, you know, having just a lot of conversations and realizing that I really don't have as much evidence or reason even as I thought to believe in these things. So like I probably shouldn't until further notice.
So it was sort of easy to get caught up in that community then, eh?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh yeah, super easy. I mean, you can
yeah.
jump on any, I used to be in dozens and dozens of conspiracy groups all over the, you know, social media, and, you know, I could post my stuff up, whatever I wanted. There would be guaranteed dozens of people who are like, wow, this is such a good idea. I'm going to use this. Or wow, like look at, this is great evidence you got here, when really it's just me pulling like a YouTube video of some dude, an armchair expert in front of his camera or something. Instead of like going towards the actual, experts, like kind of we talked about at the beginning of the show, is going towards like the experts saying things rather than just random dudes on the internet.
So when you got your evidence and you realized that this wasn't true, what do you think of the people today, like the flat earthers, who have been shown evidence over and over and just will not give it up?
I think a lot of them are just straight up in it for the gimmick, to be honest. I think a lot of them are lying for the sake of like being part of the in-group, to be completely honest. I've personally talked to like flat earthers that like, they're definitely not flat earthers, right? Like I've personally debated Dave Weiss, Flat Earth Dave. I debated him on my podcast. There's no fucking way in hell that dude actually believes these things. There's just no way. He's either being willfully ignorant or just straight up lying about it. Right. Like he's been shown the evidence and debunked time and time again. I debunked him for 2 hours straight on my podcast. And it really comes down to like, you think that you know something that somebody else doesn't, or you're being willfully ignorant, or you just are straight up lying about it. And I think that a lot of flat earthers honestly just, they kind of like being part of that group.
Okay. Well, thanks. This was very interesting. It was the first time I saw you on this show. It was nice having you on there. John's always great.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, John's a pretty cool guy. Maybe we'll keep him around for a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm
okay. Well,
I'm
thanks,
all right
guys.
sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks, Maureen.
I appreciate you.
You
Bye
too.
bye.
But all righty. Well, that's going to be it for callers tonight. Thank you so much there, Calvin, for joining us. We do have super chats to get to, which we do have a few to discuss. Luckily, none of them include Guy Fieri. I don't think so. First up, we've got 10 pounds from Barbara Barrett, who says no context for you. Okay, I'm fine with no context. I like no context sometimes.
That's fine.
Do you mind reading this one?
Yeah. We got 5 pounds from the Fuzzy Logic that says bats are birds and birds aren't real. Checkmate, atheists.
Oh, fuck. Got us.
Yeah,
we need to take this down.
Got me there.
$10 from the atheist mechanic, who says the monad trumps God in every way, shape, and form. I think anything would trump.
What is that? Keep saying the monad. I'm new here. I don't know what this is. What is the monad that people keep talking about?
We had a caller on an episode of Skeptalk a couple weeks ago. It was a Forrest and Erica episode. They tend to go like 8 hours just for fun. And so they paid a bunch of money to get me to open the lines to have one last caller. And the caller brought this God concept called the monad. It's like something to do with math and how everything is divisible by one, and the one listen, I'm gonna butcher this.
Wow.
Anyway, the caller ended up screaming back to the monad during the call, and the audience thought that was really funny, and now they just like to reference the monad everywhere.
I guess I know what I'm watching after this. All right.
Your turn.
Yeah. We got 5 pounds from Barbara Barrett again. Night of the Lepus. Lepus. I don't know what that means.
I'm not sure.
All right, I'll take it though.
I don't know either. Can't help on that one.
$5 from Space Barbarian, who says, do you believe that big conspiracy TM is out to take your money by selling BS conspiracy theories? Big conspiracy.
Wait, you think that these are fake conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
They're totally real. So they're not conspiracies, man. $10 again from the Atheist Mechanic. Young Earth creationists watch the Flintstones as if it were a documentary. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And then $4.99 from Hannah Hodgins, who says, love the line all the time. Ghost electricity. I'm not sure what ghost electricity is, but I'm interested.
I'm interested. Ghost Electricity sounds fun. Sounds like a cool band name. We got another £5 from Barbara Barrett. Europe is going right fast, but with less Bibles. Is that so?
Ooh,
Oof.
that sucks for
Big
Europe.
oof,
I
Europe.
hate that.
L in the chat for Europe.
$4.99 from Ashrave84, who says, I've got nothing clever, just wanting to support. Needed my people tonight. So very happy for the show. That's awesome. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm
for
glad
sure.
that we could provide that kind of entertainment. Although I will apologize for Draper. That took way too long to get to such a stupid argument.
I agree. All right, we got $4.99 from Hannah Hodgkins. I think Chris has too much time in his hands. That went south real quick. Melting face. I get, what is that face?
It's like a meh, I guess, maybe.
Meh. But yeah, it did go south pretty quick. Right as soon as he got his point out there.
Yeah. $5 from Barbara Barrett, who says we need a large hard hat collider.
Love it. Barbara sending in the super chats. All right, we got $10 from Green Man Dave at Calvin. Dude, get your passport so we can all hang out at BajaCon this year or next year. I agree. I need to get my passport. I do really want to go to BajaCon next year because I've never been. I've never been to any atheist convention. I need to get my shit out there, get my shit together, get my passport, go see some stuff. So yeah, totally. I'll be there.
Yeah, we're going to be there too. So, I can't wait to see you there. $10 from the Atheist Mechanic, who says, thankfully, I'm not working tonight. These callers already have me needing alcohol.
Oh my God, you're telling me.
I feel you on that.
I got a whole bottle of wine waiting for me. We got $5 from Guzman Jones. I would spend this $5 on a chicken if I weren't giving it to y'all, or even worse, Magic the Gathering cards, or pot. It's all three. That's valid. I'm more of a Yu-Gi-Oh guy. I think I would go for more of a cheeseburger, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and also pot. But that's just me.
Let's see, $5 from Barbara Barrett. It says, stop dead naming Sasquatch. Bigfoot. Yeah, so I don't know if you know this, Calvin, but did you know that the Mormons think that Bigfoot is, I believe it, or is it the Mormons or is it Jehovah's Witnesses? One of them, they believe that Bigfoot is actually Abel died Cain. They believe that he's Cain and he's walking around, and he's all hairy and shit.
Ooh, interesting. Actually, I know that's a conspiracy theory if I ever heard one. All right, we got $5 from SJL. Bigfoot is Andre the Giant. That's why we can't find him, or maybe Peter Mayhew. That's fair.
Yeah. 10 Narnia dollars from Untitled Final Version to this version. Hi, Godless. What up there? I feel like we probably met before, maybe at a conference or something. I don't know, but it's awesome to see you in the chat.
All right, we got another $4.99 from Hannah Hodgkins. I just like random emojis like the ghost. LOL. There you go. There's your explanation.
I'm still interested in ghost electricity.
Ghost electricity.
Yeah. $5 from Joshua Everett, who says the monad is inexplicable, yet we all know it in our hearts or spirits or butts. Probably the butts.
Probably those farts you've been spreading,
Yep.
$5 from the Atheist Mechanic. We paid for the monad. Now we need the merch. There you go, guys. There's the next merch line.
I wonder what the monad would it just be like a single thing there? It's like the monad.
Plug it into AI and see what AI compiles.
Oh yeah, totally. That's what I'd do. $4.99 from Ashray84 that says, "You sure you don't want to take us to Flavor Town again, John?" Oh my God. I don't know why people. So, Calvin, I don't know if you know this, but I have a visceral hate for Guy Fieri, and here's why.
Really, you don't?
All right,
I couldn't have guessed. I wouldn't have guessed.
I was 2 pitchers in, well, maybe a pitcher and a half in on beer, right? Good IPA. And I was just, we were at this restaurant and I was looking at the TV and fucking diners, drive-ins, and dives or whatever was on. And so you had Guy Fieri rolling up in a convertible and he was about to take us to Flavortown. And I got my beer and I'm just sitting there like, oh, I've actually got a beer right here. I was just sitting there like, I could fucking do that. And like in the drunkest way is like, I can go to a restaurant, eat food and be like, boom, I'm in Flavortown.
Yeah.
And, and so like from that point forward, it's always been an inside joke. Like John hates Flavortown. And I shit
Hell
you
yeah,
not.
dude.
We run into that motherfucker in the strangest of places. We were on a back road out in Hawaii, stopped at a random roadside shrimp like truck to get food. Fucking Guy Fieri had been there. His like, he took pictures with the owners and it was on the side of the fucking thing. And God, he's just fucking everywhere. Anyways,
You know, it's all in the frosted tips, John. You need to get the frosted
Yeah.
tips. Maybe you can frost tip your beard. That'd be really interesting. Guy Fieri doesn't have that. You don't have no frosted tip beard.
Everybody will have to go back and watch my show with Jasper Hoffman from a few weeks ago, because she revealed that apparently Guy Fieri actually stole his frosted tips from somebody that she knew. So y'all have to go back and watch that again.
Conspiracy theory.
Yeah, there you go.
That's another one.
Anyways, that's going to be it for the show tonight. We've got a lot of great shows coming up this week. Obviously, we've got the Sunday shows at 2 and at 7. Then we got Skeptalk at 6 on Monday. We've got Chewed Gum at 6 on Tuesday. We've got Matt, the Hang Up, 6 on Wednesday. And then TACIS on Thursday at 2 p.m. Central. So definitely stay tuned this week for more great calls, more great hosts, and I guess we will see all you heathens later. Don't forget to stand up and use your voice. Also, go and find Calvin, Unquestionable Calvin, all the social medias. Subscribe. Let them know that you got there from this show. That's how we, figure that shit out.
Heck yeah.
Also, I learned to juggle, everybody. See, I can juggle one-handed.
Yeah, look at you go. That's impressive.